Hello everyone, welcome to the Swing Trading Stock Market Outlook for the week of January 29th. I'm Corey Mitchell with TradeThatSwing.com. If you ever want to pull up this article or find the resources, you can go to TradeThatSwing.com, go into the stocks category, stock market analysis and trades, and you will see the stock market swing trading outlook. Each week I just update this article. Have some lists that I watch for potential trade candidates heading into the week of January 29th. Market conditions are still good. That means I want to be deploying capital on long swing trades. So we have the best swing trading stocks list, which is just high momentum stocks. This is where most of the action has been over the last few weeks. At least the last couple weeks. And then the stock market watch list had been a little bit quiet. This is specific patterns that are setting up. Whereas this one's just strong stocks, and we watch for them moving across an indicator. There's a potential strategy you can trade listed in that article. Best stock watch list, or current stock watch list, is the patterns that are setting up had been a little bit quiet, but last week we saw a lot more popping up, which is good to see. And then there's these lists which you can look at for just strong stocks, strong ETFs. Those are potential ones that we could trade as well. And then these are longer term type trades, which if you're more of an investing type approach or prefer the longer term trades taking months or potentially even years, then these are the ones that we can take advantage of in good market conditions. So let's dig into how the indices are doing. I like looking at several, the NASDAQ 100, lots of tech stocks in there, not all tech stocks, but kind of considered a tech proxy or tech index. S&P 500, largest U.S. companies, NYSE composite, just a wide array of stocks from varying industries and different sizes. Russell 2000, smaller companies. So let's zoom this in here. So this top chart, which is a little blocked out by my picture there, but that's the NASDAQ 100. And then we have the S&P 500, the Russell NYSE composite, Russell 2000. This is the Canadian index here toward the middle upper. Bitcoin, this is a weekly chart so we can see the whole uptrend going on over the last year. And then we have gold ETF down here in the bottom right. And in the top right, we have the silver index. So we'll get to all of these. Overall uptrend, very strong in the NASDAQ 100. Very strong in the S&P 500. We had this little consolidation phase here a couple weeks back, and we've just continued to explode higher. The NYSE composite moving to new highs. So it's basically still in that little bit of a choppy period, but we've moved up to the top and have started to just break out. Same with the Canadian index. So we haven't quite got that confirmation of the move up like we have in the S&P and the NASDAQ, but still, nothing to indicate that we're in a downtrend yet, still acting quite strongly. The Russell 2000, which is the small companies, did have a bit bigger pullback here, and we are still in that pullback. We haven't managed to recover back to the highs. But overall, even if the Russell 2000 were a little bit weak, we have a very wide array of stocks based on these other indices which are doing well. That tells me I want to deploy capital. Maybe just a tiny bit of a divergence when you have one of the indexes which isn't quite acting as strongly. So this would just tell us, small caps not doing quite as well as some of the others. Let's look at Bitcoin briefly. Really strong rally coming up into the start of the year. And we had this little pullback here. It was about 21% from this high when it got up to around 48 and then pulled back below 40. So about a 21% pullback, and that's very common. I recently wrote an article on, let's see if I can pull it up here quick, on Bitcoin and how rallies tend to unfold. And we found that typical pullbacks were about 27%. So during a bull market, so the 21% rally was not very uncommon or anything like that. So yeah, just something to be aware of. So this is already starting to bounce a little bit. We could head a little bit lower. That the average does not mean every pullback was 27%. Some will be a little bit smaller and then start to bounce. Some will be a little bit bigger and then start to bounce. But overall, we are still in bull market, as you can see, like almost very little evidence to suggest that we are in a downtrend yet. Overall, nice movement. Just trying to find this. Yeah, so this one here, how Bitcoin moves. And yeah, it just shows, the big cycles in Bitcoin, what happens after we have really big declines like what we did through 2022, late 2021. So a 78% decline. And we have rallied at its maximum up to 216%, but you can see most of these rallies following a big decline have run for a long way. We had a false start. We discussed this in the article, and we didn't hit the phase that we have hit during this rally. So this was a bit of a false start, never really got going. In this one, we have gotten going. I discuss in this article what that entails. But yeah, just really break down how it moves. In every bull market, we look at how it unfolded, what the average pullback size, what the average rallies were following that pullback. So each one, the 2013, 2014, 2015, 17 bull market, you just see how each one unfolded. So really in-depth article. So you can find that under the crypto category in Trade That Swing. Briefly, silver, not too much of interest to me. Gold, a little bit more interesting. We've been hanging out near these levels. This is a 2-week chart. So this just allows us to see going back to 2019. So each one of these price bars is 2 weeks. So we hit the high here, pulled back, moved back to the high, pulled back, moved back to the high, and we're hanging out here. Started 2024, we're hanging out near those highs again. If we were to break out, that could indicate a multi-year bull market in gold about to come. But as you can see, we've been hanging out here for a long time. So I'm not going to jump in assuming that breakout's going to happen. Once it occurs, there will be plenty of opportunity to get in on this rally that, could unfold for a year, 2 years, or more, based on, that we've just been chopping sideways here for so many years. And we'll start to see that also in the gold stocks. If they really start to move, they often move ahead of gold. So if they start to really break out and move on average, that could be a good indication that gold could also be going. So overall, pretty good price action here for, at least for general stocks, to be going long. Bitcoin, it's its own separate thing. Gold stocks, its own kind of separate thing. They don't necessarily follow the market. They follow gold a bit more. But in terms of just your typical stocks, definitely good to be going long. We'll talk about what sectors are doing the best. Let's dig into the health indicators. So this is an S&P 500 index chart. This first indicator up here is how many stocks are above their 50-day moving average. We have 75% of S&P 500 stocks above their 50-day, 65% of all U.S. stocks above their 50-day moving average. So just a very crude measure of how many stocks are in uptrends. Much easier to make money on the long side when most stocks are moving up and above their 50-day. As you can see here, a period where most stocks were below the 50-day, and you have this choppy downward price action. Here we have more than 50% above, and you have this upward trending price action. Same with over here, nice period to be long. Volume, not important to me at the moment. This ROC is rate of change. It is the percentage daily, the daily movement percentage of the S&P 500. And what we see is that during downtrends, we have much greater daily volatility. Often we have big drops. We have not had big drops in a long time. So this is a smiley face, very indicative of uptrending behavior when you have small movement. Over here, you can see toward the left of the chart when you had this was nearing the end of the bear market. You have very choppy movement, and then eventually it stabilizes, and this is more uptrending type behavior, which has lower volatility. This is the advanced decline line, NYSE advanced decline line, just advancing stocks minus declining stocks is a cumulative number. We have moved to new highs along with the S&P 500, so that's confirming. This is up volume divided by total volume. We had a couple of days here where we had a lot of downside volume or very little upside volume to 80% downside days. That means 80% of the volume that occurred on those days occurred in stocks that moved to the downside. Or you could also think of it only 20% of stocks had moved to the upside on the day. So very little volume, or in terms of volume, very little volume in uptrending or stocks that moved higher on the day. But that occurred mid-January, and we've already snapped right back from that. So the 80%, not really that important. We're usually looking for 90% or 10%. So those didn't quite hit our major threshold, but it was a bit of a warning sign, and I had put the frowny face on it. But then we recovered so quick that it didn't end up mattering at all. So we kept buying throughout all these stages, because basically since we turned positive here on the 50-day, so since late last year, has been just keep buying if you see something you like. Sectors on the move: technology, communication services, healthcare, financial, real estate. We have a little bit of a reshuffling. Energy had a good week, but communication services right there. Technology and financials, good performers over the last week. Technology, healthcare, financials, right up there. Communication services, all of them right up there over the last month. Technology, communication services, real estate, financials, all up there over the last 3 months. Healthcare, a little bit lower on the list, but still overall really good performance. So those are the main ones we could watch. But as you can see, most things performing pretty well over the last 3 months and over the last week. So what am I doing right now? Well, deploying capital along swing trades. If we have those lists, opportunities are occurring, so I want to be taking advantage of those opportunities for the setups, whether it's off the best swing trading stocks list or the swing trading watch, which looks at the patterns. Things are setting up, so there's opportunities. And then, of course, when swing trading is a little quiet, we do have these periods of action, and then we have periods of inaction. So I like to day trade as well, and also invest. So you have some resources here you can check out if you're interested in those as well. So overall, things looking pretty good out there still. That's your weekly stock market outlook. Have a great week out there.